Well, in a victory for the Iranians, the UK has agreed to release that Iranian oil tanker that they had seized in the port of Gibraltar, which is in the Mediterranean, for those of you unfamiliar with European geography. The UK had claimed that they suspected this Iranian tanker of delivering oil to Syria, and that's why they had seized it. Syria, for some reason, is embargoed by the European Union and is not allowed to receive oil shipments, even though Syria and Iran are not a part of the EU, so I don't know what authority the EU seems to feel that they have over Iranian and Syrian trade relations. And of course the UK, which is supposed to leave the European Union on October the 31st, Halloween night. I find it interesting that they are still enforcing that EU embargo. It's very convenient, that they're one of their last acts in the European Union, which they are supposedly leaving, is to enforce their little trade restrictions on Syria. Because, of course, keeping gas out of Syria so that the folks there can't heat their homes is a great way to stick it to Assad. Let old people die of frostbite in their house. Of course, the winter's a long way away, so perhaps they'll find a way to get some oil in before that. Now, Jeremy Hunt, who is pretty friendly with the United States, I would say he's very much in the tank for the U.S. foreign policy establishment. He agreed, strangely enough, to release this Iranian tanker, and he said, we never had any problem with the fact that this was from Iran. We were not trying to specifically target Iran. We were just concerned about Syria. He said they're concerned with not the origin of the oil, but the destination of the oil. And after Zarif, who is the Iranian foreign minister, assured him that that oil was not bound for Syria, he said, well, then we'll release the tanker. Now, according to Spain and Iran, the UK was not acting, as they say, to simply prevent this tanker from moving forward because they were afraid it was destined for Syria. Both Spain and Iran claim that tanker was seized by the UK on orders from the US, which, of course, when you've got Jeremy Hunt, when Jeremy Hunt is involved, that doesn't seem all that unlikely to me. However, I don't think that what Jeremy Hunt is saying is wrong either. It might have been an added bonus that this tanker happened to be from Iran, and that's why they decided to pick on it. But I wouldn't be surprised if the British had reason to believe that this tanker was headed for Syria. Not to say that what they did was all right. I mean, I don't think that the UK has any business interfering between the trade relations of Syria and Iran. But I don't think it's exactly far-fetched to think that Iran would be shipping oil to Syria. It may have very well been the case, and now that Iran got their ship captured, they said, okay, we'll sell it to somebody else in the Mediterranean. Maybe now they're going to send it to, I don't know, Greece or somebody. Now, this also comes after last week, I think it was, the UK, or not the UK, but anonymous sources accused Iran of trying to seize a UK oil tanker that was crossing the Strait of Hormuz and trying to order it into Iran. CNN ran with this story based on their anonymous sourcing, and it didn't seem to go anywhere. I think only CNN was able to run it and nobody else was able to confirm it because it kind of looks like it just didn't happen. Supposedly, the Iranians were trying to seize this ship as revenge for the UK seizing one of their oil tankers, which Iran did say they were going to do. They threatened at the very least. However, it wouldn't have made much sense for them to seize this particular ship since it did have a military escort in the form of the, I believe it was the HMS Montrose. It was a British ship. I mistakenly said in my last video that it was a U.S. ship, though I fixed that and I added an annotation to the video. It seemed that whoever it was in U.S. intelligence that leaked this lie, essentially, about Iran trying to seize this UK ship, were trying to make it look like Iran was escalating the situation. And I think that they were a little mad that Iran had not done it already themselves. I think that they had, if the U.S. was involved in getting the UK to seize that tanker, which wouldn't surprise me at all, I would imagine that they did so hoping that that would cause the Iranians to escalate the situation, and the UK could fall back on saying, oh, we're just seizing it because we're worried about this oil going to Syria, and then any escalation that happened after that would be considered Iran's fault. Iran apparently didn't take the bait, and the U.S., or at least somebody in the U.S., I don't think that this was a very well planned out top-down conspiracy or anything, but somebody in the intelligence wanted to convince the media that Iran had escalated, and I think that was sort of a propaganda piece to try and get people to sign on to the U.S.'s escort ship program, which of course they are having trouble finding volunteers to escort ships through the Strait of Hormuz. All that blew up in their face. None of this worked out well. I think this whole debacle with the UK seizing this Iranian tanker really looked terrible for them. They didn't get anything they wanted, and essentially they've had to back down now, and Iran got their ship back, and they're going to do whatever they want. Thankfully, I think this was sort of the last hurrah for the U.S. trying to get some kind of immediate conflict with Iran, and it didn't seem to go well. So I don't think that there's going to be much action with Iran here. And so hopefully this will be the last that we hear about U.S. tensions with Iran for the next few weeks at least. If you gained anything of value out of this video, I'd appreciate you clicking that like button and subscribing. And if you do subscribe, please do click the bell, because I do upload every day and I'd hate to have you miss one. So I'll see you folks back here tomorrow.